Elite women's sport is making more money than ever. Global revenues are set to surpass more than $2.3 billion this year. So, why has there been such a surge? And what is the growing commercial appeal of female sport? Hello and welcome to Roundtable. I'm Enda Brady. Now, revenue in elite female sport is growing faster than expected, with women's basketball leading the way. It's projected to generate over $1 billion this year, overtaking women's football. And that's according to research from Deloitte. So, while the elite end is thriving, a new FIFA report highlights the struggles many women's football clubs still face.
For decades, women's sport has been in the shadows of men's games, underfunded, undervalued and underpromoted. But change is underway. It is estimated that this year, global revenues for women's sport is set to increase by 240%, rising from $692 million in 2022 to a projected $2.35 billion. Of that projected amount, 21% will come from matchday earnings, 25% from broadcast agreements, and 54% will come from sponsorship and merchandise. It is a sign that investment in the game is paying off. Social media has played a major role. Female athletes now have direct access to fans. They can boost their marketability and secure high-profile endorsements. Yet, the financial picture isn't the same for all. A FIFA report reveals that most women's football clubs are still operating at a loss. Salaries remain low, and many teams struggle to attract long-term investment. Despite the challenges, the figures for elite women's sport are growing, signalling a shift in how it's valued. Can this rapid growth be sustained?
Well, let's meet our guests. In Wexford in Ireland, we have Michelle O'Neill. She's a FIFA International Assistant Referee. And I'm delighted to say here with me in the studio, we have Aoife Jolly. She's CEO and founder of the sports agency Open Sponsorship. You're both very welcome to Roundtable. Aoife, to you first. So we now know that women's sport is a $2 billion industry and it's pushing hard towards $3 billion. It seems the money people have finally realised that there's a lot of money out there to be made.
100%. I think we're seeing everything from private equity, institutional, celebrities come in, and obviously that's from the top. And then we're seeing it from the bottom: merchandise sales, ticket sales, stadium sales, endorsement deals. So I think from both sides, you're seeing money flowing in, which is why we're having this big impact.
And in the last couple of years, I mean, the numbers just keep growing. This is only going up.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
And just give me your reading of it. I mean, are you surprised it's taken so long for businesses to actually realise that half the global population is female? This is something that they should have been doing a long time ago.
Yeah, it's such an interesting question because you're like, why now? And then also, there's always that worry, which is like, is this a phase? And will it revert back? I think the answer to the latter is no. There's too much movement. And all of that. So then there's a question of like, why now? There's a few hypotheses. I'm going to take one that we obviously spend a lot of time in the social media world. And I think what we're seeing with social media is if you're an artist, music, and you produce a good song, it can go viral. If you're stand-up comedy, you can actually sell out stadiums through going on YouTube versus going through production. And I think what we're seeing is it's been actually very athlete first. So a lot of times when you hear about and we'll talk about basketball versus football. Basketball, Caitlin Clark. Everyone's talking about Caitlin Clark, you know, her versus Steph Curry, and then there's another Sabrina Ionescu versus Steph Curry, and all of these things. And you're really seeing these people push the sport forward, a bit like Serena did in tennis. We haven't really seen it in golf. And so I think because it's female first, the broadcasters, no one can deny that connection between fan and female athlete. And they're driving ticket sales, they're driving merch sales, and then they're driving broadcast as well. So I think it's really the rise of social media being like, people are interested in this. It's no longer controlled by what BBC puts out or Channel 4 or Sky or whoever.
Michelle, talk us through your experience refereeing at the highest level, FIFA Women's World Cup in Australia and New Zealand. What was the buzz like when you were going out onto the pitch each match?
Oh, it was absolutely amazing, electric, but it was just the atmosphere, and you knew that the world of sport and the world of football had grown since being on the pitch in the Women's World Cup final in 2019 compared to being on the pitch in the third place final in 2023. It just exploded between the 4 years, and it really got the ball rolling in terms of everyone coming behind. So you had the atmosphere, you had the sponsorships, you had all these amazing people and athletes that were on the pitch, and we were ready for it. Now, it obviously added a little more pressure and performance, but it was just the growth of football was just huge.
And Michelle, you're of the same opinion as Ishveen. I'm guessing that there's no going back, that women's sport, there is only one trajectory and it's forwards.
100%. There's only one way. It's the very cliche of the stone gathers the moss. It's the very same. Once we started, we opened up that box. That's never closing again. And we just really have to push and keep pushing. And it's just exploded for everybody. And now it's getting back to grassroots now to bring it all the way to the top.
Ishveen, you mentioned basketball. So in the report, all of the figures indicate that basketball is actually making more money than football. Yeah. What's your reading of that?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I would love for Michelle to pipe in here about this, but I recently was on a plane and I watched Copa 71, I think it was. Have you seen them? It's
not yet.
It's a movie around a women's tournament that happened in Mexico in 1971, and it was privately put on, and it was amazing. Stadiums sold out, and then everyone came home, and FIFA weighed in and said, if you allow women to play in your club, you will be basically disbarred. And so football in England and Mexico and all that, I think it was Netherlands, Italy, they were all, it reverted back, and no one had even heard of this. Not even the coaches and the players in the US women's team or whatever else. Obviously, probably a bit dramatized. And I think there is probably a sense that I feel maybe footballs are still a bit controlled by regulation a little bit more than the American sports, which are very, we talked about it, they're commercial, they're meritocratic. If the NBA sees a way to make money and grow audiences and engage fans and cross-sell, it's going to get done. Whereas maybe football is a bit more traditional, a little bit less likely to take risks, maybe more guided by Europe than America, obviously, because of... so I think that could be my view as to why football is falling behind and basketball, predominantly American sport, is rising.
And Ishveen, you lived and worked in New York for 7 or 8 years. Talk us through what it was like doing business in American sport as a woman.
Yeah, I think I would say that America's truly meritocratic and, the land of hopes and dreams. And I think some people may call it transactional, but in a workplace, I'd say it's positive. If people believe, if whoever, an investor, a client, a partner, believes that you can help them, whether that's make money or help their child get a job or whatever the objective they want, they'll give you a go. And I just felt like America was really well suited to trying new things, ask for forgiveness later, doing something a bit bold and innovative for different reasons than maybe Europe or England, where everyone's a bit more conservative and a bit more thoughtful, slower to make decisions or change things.
Michelle, let's talk about grassroots sport then, and maybe the challenges. It's okay, the top level players we see on TV, the winners, the Olympic medalists and Women's Super League players on TV scoring goals and what have you. Do you think the challenges now are getting investment into grassroots level, the pitches, the facilities, the changing rooms, so that young girls actually get the chance to take part more?
Yeah, that's the way forward. You have to have the structures in place in grassroots level. You have to, have the facilities. girls won't turn up to pitches if there's no toilet facilities, as simple as that. Because, so you really have to invest all the way back down to grassroots level. And you have to create the environment for them to stay in sport. You have the teenagers are dropping out too quickly, because again, it's there's different environments. And as Vin said, I mean, football, yeah, it's a little bit more of top heavy with it still needs to be equal in terms of executive positions, so you need more investment in the positions where females have, so they can really influence then, getting back into, again, just turning up and having more in the grassroots level and building from there.
And Michelle, just for the benefit of our viewers, we're both from County Wexford, so we know that a lot needs to be done in terms of facilities on our local pitches. I get the impression big cities like Dublin, there's plenty of opportunity, loads of pitches and good changing facilities. Do you think the sporting organisations who run our games need to start looking at rural areas and regional sport more in terms of investment? Yeah,
they do. I mean, we live in Ireland, again, rural Ireland, and the only way forward is putting in the AstroTurf pitches and to have the training facilities, but also having you need lights as well. So there's a lot of infrastructure needed, and there's a lot more to be needed. Yes, there is clubs here, and they're investing, and it is starting, and the ball is rolling. And we do have the pitches coming, but they're not coming quick enough, and if in order to retain girls in sport and at the younger ages, that's what's needed.
So Ishveen, just on that point about grassroots sport, do you think that's the challenge now looking ahead in the coming years, that, all the organisations, we're seeing the exposure, we're seeing the money coming in, we're seeing pay improve for professional female athletes. Do you think that the challenge now is to upgrade facilities?
Yeah, obviously I'd say Michelle knows that side better than I do. I think from the commercial standpoint, what I'm seeing, again, not to harp on too much about America versus rest of the world, but there's this thing in America called Title IX, where the colleges, which is where most of the sports originates, it's a different system to football here, they have to fund equal. They have to put as much money into women's sports as into men's, which is probably what we're seeing right now is the success of that feeding system. So I think exactly to what Michelle was saying, that you need to get girls coming in and staying in so that the professional level stays good, because it's great you can field 11 girls for an England strong national football team, but to really make the Super League work or the club level work, you need hundreds of really good girls, right? And so how do you get that through? How do you create an academy system? And obviously that requires money, it requires facilities. So I think it's both sides, it's facilities, but also where's the money coming from? And not letting England or any other country fall too far behind, because America does have this amazing collegiate system where they are getting them in and they're nurturing them to the professional.
And Ishveen, just tell us, what's your impression of the facilities then that they have in, say, US colleges and universities compared to England, Wales, Scotland?
Yeah, I mean, look, I studied at Oxford, and so obviously not a sports school per se, but even from then till now, I hear reports that there's leaks and people don't prioritise sport as much at the university level. And I think over there, and again, it's because of commercial, the sports there is a business. You sell tickets, these stadiums are massive, you're selling sponsorship against the sports teams, and it's its own kind of whole system. So it's easy to do versus here, where I feel like the educational institutions are seen as education, and then maybe you go to the football clubs. And I think government probably needs to think about how does sports play into that 15 to 22, where at the moment it feels like that's probably where the drop-off is.
Michelle, I want to talk about pay and money. There was a story in the papers this past week about the Premier League. Male referees, the best referees in the English Premier League, Some of them are earning £250,000 sterling a year. The season lasts, what, 9.5 months? That's €300,000 a year. What's your reaction to hearing those kind of figures for a referee?
It's unbelievable. In Ireland, we'd never even come close to that in our lifetime, I'd say. And to see the growth in that, because as a professional referee, you have so much time that you put in, physically and mentally, into the game. And it's I think it's welcomed because the England over there, they have the professional players, the professional referees. Here in Ireland, we're amateurs. We're not professional. I was FIFA, yes, but it's a different pathway. But we all have to have our own jobs here in Ireland, so it's quite different. Every country is different, So as a professional referee over there, it's quite nice to see that it's coming that way.
And Michelle, do you mind me asking, you referee international matches, what would you get as a FIFA international referee for an international game?
It's not as much as people think. You're done on a daily rate, and it's not really about the money, but say in a tournament, it's where you would get the bonuses, and that's where you have to really work hard to get to. Because, again, here in Ireland, you have to give up your work in order to travel to go. So you only get a daily allowance. So it's not a very as much as the England referees get.
I know you do it for the love of the game and the love of sport, Michelle, but it wasn't that long ago that it was a big story here that there was a female lines person running the line in a Premier League match. I mean, things have changed very quickly. Times are changing.
Yeah, times are changing, and but there's not enough of us. We get our opportunities, but they don't. There's not that many females in refereeing. I mean, they're coming. We're getting them into the grassroots level, but there's not that many at top level. So we really have to bridge that gap somehow. And in Ireland here, we have to give up our jobs. We have to give up our lives and sacrifice a lot in order to get to the top level of where I went. So, I mean, it's great to see in England the likes of Sean Massey, Ellis, running the line over there and being professional. So it's brilliant over in PG Motwell, where they have professional referees and females, and it's coming up to they're fighting for equal pay and everything. So it's quite amazing to see that. But we have to keep the ball rolling on this and keep pushing and creating them opportunities for more females in refereeing.
Ishveen, talk to me about pay then. When are we going to see the day when top female athletes are earning exactly what the men get? I know it's happening in tennis, for example, in terms of prize money, but there is a discrepancy.
Yeah. I still think we're a while away. I think so. You've got a few different ways that money comes in. So ticket sales, so that could equalise earlier. That's on us as fans to do that. You've got merchandise sales, again, could equalise it earlier. Having said that, things are global. And so maybe in England, we're supporting women more, but are they doing it in Asia as much, or Middle East, or wherever else? Then you've got your broadcast, and that's your number one. And so that's really how many people are tuning in. I'd still say we've got a while to go for the tune-ins to be equal. But I think we're getting much further there, where commentators are better, the wraparound, the whole broadcast is better, prime time, putting it in. Why did it happen at tennis? Because they play at the same time. And I always think about golf, where I'm like, well, why did golf? Well, if the US Open PGA Championship's there, and then the women's, who even knows what's happening? And so I think broadcast can really do a good job of bringing the timings closer, bringing the match closer. So I still think we're a while away, but not as far as I'm not going to put a bet on it, but not as far as, you know, if you'd asked me 3 years ago, I would have been like, never in my lifetime.
Are you happy with the level of exposure you're seeing for female sport on TV, on the radio, newspapers, websites?
Am I happy with it? I think there's always like, it could be better, but at the same time, we need to make sure that people don't put down that publication because they're not interested in the topic. And so I feel like, and again, like going back to a bit like social or online, it's almost like it's easier for me to seek it out where it lives. So I feel like it's definitely getting better. I love, for me, what I also really love is like when you've got like award ceremonies and it's not like best female, it's just like best athlete. And like, let's not recognize them as separate. And I do feel like in like the Times, which is very I read, like often they'll have like the results for Man City men, Man City women. And so I do think that's like really helpful where it's fine, the sexy story might be on like Marcus Rashford or, you know, the men's, but it's not like it's being forgotten and the women's results are on the same page, which I think is great.
Michelle, there will be lots of young women watching wondering, how can I get into refereeing? How can I carve out a career in sport? What advice would you give to a young person, young girl starting out thinking, I would love to referee at a FIFA Women's World Cup?
Definitely just go and do your beginner's course. Go into grassroots level, small-sided games, and just really craft your officiating and, you know, really just go for it because it's the best seat in the house, to be honest. You know, and it brought me to beyond my wildest dreams of pitches and that I've shared with these top athletes and top teams in the world. And there's no going back. You know, once you step on the pitch and referee your first game, you'll get the bug and, you know, just really persevere and go in with an open mind and thick skin and you'll be grand.
Great advice, Michelle. Ishfeen, to you, just tell me about some of the top-class women you work with and have done over the years. You understand you know Serena Williams very well.
Yes, she's one of our investors, which is absolutely amazing, formidable woman, on and off the court, super engaged, intelligent, passionate about kind of what she believes in, whatever else. So that's been great. We as a company essentially help brands partner with athletes, and we have over 19,000 athletes. And really fun fact, actually, last year was the first time that we did more female deals than male deals in terms of quantity. Obviously, in terms of value, you know, unfortunately, still like one male deal could be, you know, our biggest deal was like just shy of $1 million, and that dwarfs a lot of the others. But it's really fun to see. This year, WNBA, we did a deal recently with a big brand, and it was like one or two few social media posts, and it was like $90,000. So like amazing numbers that you're seeing towards the women as well. And so I would say across the board, why is that happening? I think women are actually better content creators often on social media. Yeah. And they really show off their lives. Like, this is my family life. This is like me being, you know, if you look at Serena, this is me as an entrepreneur. This is me as a mother. This is me as a wife, and all of this. And so you can kind of relate to them, which is like this new version of following athletes. So I love all the women that we work with are just amazing, and it's great to see.
I see some of the comments, mostly from men, obviously, towards female athletes online. A British runner in particular has had some abuse recently. Women have to put up with a lot. Even when they reach the very top of their game, they're still having some men chip away at them. Yeah.
I mean, look, I think both sides get abuse online. So I think it's important to go, you know, we have a lot of deals where we do with male athletes and they hate posting, let's say it's part of a deal, they hate posting the night that they lose because a lot of the comments will be negative, what are you doing, da, da, da. So I think, whereas I feel like women wouldn't do that to female athletes. You'd be a bit like, okay, well, this is how you're also getting paid. So I think social media and comments and all of that is terrible. I do think there is still like perception change, but no, like that, I'd say that's a far cry for what women are thinking about when, yeah.
And just tell me, on the money side of things, do you think we are heading towards, in the next 12 months, female sport being a $3 billion industry. I think it's at $2.3 billion the last 12 months.
Yeah, I think so, because, as I said, I think there's two things at play here. One is like the fandom, but two is the private equity side of things and the valuations increase and the expansion teams and all of this. And so, like, you know, we know that the Saudi government has put loads of money into sport. If they're thinking ahead and they're like, let's say they're watching this and they're like, okay, women's sport will be really successful. Let's buy something today. Let's start the Live Golf for women today. That's how it's going to happen. So it might be early punts on things that haven't matured yet, but that's what investors do. And I think that's why it will happen.
And just briefly, now going back to the last few years, the trajectory now is forward and up and onwards?
Too much money, too many women with money. I think the same question you asked Michelle about, like, how do we get women referees? We've also got more women in sports boards across the roles, CEO positions, as investors. So I feel like maybe before, no offense to men, it was like men controlled women's sports. I feel like today, men and women control women's sports.
We wish you the best of success going forward. Thank you, Ishfeen. And to Michelle O'Neill in Wexford as well. Remember, you can see more discussion and debate on our YouTube channel. Just search for Roundtable, TRT World. But for now, from me, Enda Brady, and all of the team here, goodbye, and thank you for watching.